Hey Chase, welcome to the show. Where are you getting started? Tell us about yourself.
Hey man, nice to meet you. Nice to have you. All right, can we start over? So sorry about that.
Uh,
Oh man.
hey Chase, welcome to the show. Where are you getting started? Tell us about yourself.
Hey Brian, thanks for having me. So my background really is on the B2C side. That being said, I've done a lot of really cool things around cold email, both for B2B, for things like SaaS, and really a lot for B2C. So a lot of these skills and things I've done are highly transferable, whether you're kind of in a B2B perspective or a B2C business.
And how'd you end up starting your own company? It doesn't seem like a natural flow, unless it was. I don't know.
So when I graduated college, I went to go work for an education technology startup. And at that company, I built a platform that connected students on college campuses to other in their classroom. And basically the way that we scaled this platform was going through college directories, finding people's email addresses and sending them one-off emails. After we saw success with that, I figured out a way with our developers on how we could automate that on a large scale. So fast forward 6 months, we had acquired, hundreds of thousands of college students for this platform, and we basically help them learn through other students in their classroom, whether that was an in-person study group or them sharing notes. And as I left that business, I got recruited to go work for a YouTube competitor. I kept that first company as a client of mine on the side. I got burnt out of commuting from Orange County to LA at that YouTube client. I ended up then wanting to do my own thing. I kind of picked them up as a client. So as I left these businesses, I made really great relationships with kind of the C-level suite and all the employees. And as people went on to new places and as they needed email help, they would reach out to me and I would kind of do consulting with them. So lo and behold, I ended up having way too much work on the side that was taking me more work than my full-time job, and it was more enjoyable and I was making more money. So I ended up deciding to go kind of work for myself and do consulting all around email marketing for B2B and B2C businesses.
So, because email's changed a lot in the last 5 years, hasn't it?
Oh, huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's much harder today to deliver to the inbox. It's much harder to warm up your reputation and your trust. So it's definitely gotten harder. One of the ways that I've kind of mitigated that solution or that problem is through a solution of basically having my own warmed up SMTP servers, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Um, is, is your audience familiar with that, you think?
Maybe you want to describe it a little.
So essentially what I do is I have, if you think about this platform SendGrid, they allow you to be able to send just like any other ESP, but they also have a solution that's kind of plug and play on the back end that's really more for transactional or different high volume senders. So I basically have a server with them, for lack of a better way to explain it, that is warmed up over the past couple of years. That this way, when I go open up a new G Suite account, Google's not going to shut me down right away for sending 50 emails a day,
Yeah.
250 emails a day, 1,000 emails a day. So I've really built up this environment and this kind of this infrastructure that's allowed me to scale and plug and play for any business. So a lot of people are having issues. I've noticed my open rates over the past couple of years have gone down a couple points, not as significant as a lot of other people. And it's for the reason I just mentioned of having my infrastructure built out. And kind of to further elaborate, basically what that is it's a G Suite email, so kind of a Google for Work email. I use a tool called Gmass, and Gmass is basically a Chrome extension that allows you to connect a Google Sheet to your email and allows you to do a mail merge. So
Yeah.
if you have different columns, right, like column A is first name, column B is company name, that allows you to do the personalization. And then I plug and play with these servers. That way Google knows I'm trustworthy.
Okay. As opposed to them being on your list and already opted in.
Correct. Yeah. So a lot of the stuff I'm talking about right now is cold email.
Yeah.
On the other end of what you're referring to, I actually run an agency called Boundless Labs, and all we do is email marketing for e-commerce. So today we're very much B2C focused. We work with 30 brands, and what we do is we help those companies better serve their lists, help them build trust, help them build engagement to ultimately drive revenue.
Yeah.
So on that agency, Boundless Labs, we've been in business for about 19 months. And we've sent hundreds of millions of emails, and we've done about 25 million in e-commerce revenue.
And because I've seen email was the sole focus 10 years ago, and it's kind of drifted down because everyone's doing it,
Yeah.
right? Everyone's inbox is just full.
Yeah.
And, companies tend to like, we'll send it until you unsubscribe. And I used to spend the first 10 minutes every morning unsubscribe, unsubscribe, unsubscribe. Right, because I'd love to hear from you once a month, but every day, a little too much.
Yeah, and there's actually apps now that help it make very easy to
Yeah.
unsubscribe. To your point, like unsubscribe rates are definitely increasing if you don't follow certain best practices.
Yeah. And what are those?
So a couple things. One is you have to serve, engaging content. You can't just push products, right?
Yeah.
You also have to be really good around the frequency. So to your point, if someone is a daily sender and they weren't explicit about the fact that they were going to send daily emails when you first subscribe, the expectation is, wasn't there, right? So inherently as a subscriber, you're going to opt out. So what we tell clients is there's this kind of optimal number of days per week that you could send to someone where you're maximizing revenue, but you're mitigating unsubscribes. And
Yeah.
typically that is 2 to 3 times a week. That could be Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, right? The days of the week could vary, but 2 to 3 times a week is typically kind of that spot where you're safe. You're driving enough revenue, but you're not being kind of annoying and too much in people's faces. And also too, like in those 2 or 3 times, you have to send different types of content. One of those emails should be kind of an education or a blog email. One of those should be kind of a product or an offer email. The third could be holiday focused. It could be a celebrity or an influencer partnership, right? There's all these different buckets. So we make sure with our clients that we're mapping out every month and rotating each email.
Yeah. And are the email automation servers able to detect if they open it, and if they haven't opened 2, 3 in a row, to maybe like let it go for a week?
So that's a great question. There's two answers to that. On the B2B side and kind of the B2C side, on the cold email side, typically what I do is I only set up like a 2 or 3 email kind of drip series. And then I kind of go back and reevaluate and see like what was my open rate and how many people unsubscribed. Just because I know like people's B2B emails, they don't want to get blown up too much. I want to be respectful. I hate when I get it, even though I send a lot of it. So on the B2B side, I kind of set up 2 or 3 emails that go out over the course of like a week and a half or 2 weeks. And if people don't open, I'll kind of hold them off a little bit longer.
Good.
That part's a little bit more manual.
Yeah.
On the B2C side, when I'm using a tool like Klaviyo or MailChimp or whatnot, I basically try to send to people that are engaged. And as people start doing what you're talking about over a couple weeks or couple months, then we stop sending to them. So on a weekly basis, if you're not opening engaging, that's okay. But if it becomes multiple weeks or multiple months, then we stop hitting you because you're actually hurting us more than you're helping us, right?
Right.
Because you're not engaged, that actually hurts us. And everyone in their mind has this whole thing like about the volume, right? It has to hit the most number of people, has to do it. And that's actually wrong, right? Most of the deliverability problems that people have are simple mistakes like that.
Yeah. And how about as far as time and date, day of the week, time of the day? Do you care about that, or?
I might make a lot of people mad when I say this, but I really don't care. Like everyone asks me all the time, and I always say like, hey, like let's take it easy. Let's focus on inboxing because if you're in the inbox, it doesn't matter what day of the week that you send it. You're going to more likely be open than if you're in another folder, right? So that's really the first thing that we focus on is inboxing. The second thing that we focus on the B2C side with some of our clients is, hey, if we send an email out and we run an A/B test and we don't get the optimal open rate that we want, we can always resend that same email next week with a different subject line. Right. So for me, like I've been doing this for so long, we've sent hundreds of millions of email. It's so casual, right? There are ways to make up for it if we don't get the result that we want. Where I think people are so obsessively focused on hitting the right day and the right time that often that kind of allows them this perilous of not sending it at all, right? They're overthinking things, they're overcomplicating it. They're doing too much to cram things in. So I'm a lot more relaxed and like, hey, it's going to be okay. If we send it and it doesn't work, we can send it again.
Right. Yeah. Tomorrow always comes. Now,
Yeah.
how do you get clients?
So a couple ways. So one has been referrals. So working with current clients, they refer a friend or a family member. The second is that client in particular that we work with, it's typically a serial entrepreneur. So they'll normally start us with one of their brands. And as we prove ourselves and prove our value, they'll bring us on to brand 2 or 3. And then also too, like as we kind of get in a lull, either if we're kind of onboarding new employees or if we want just more clients, I'll do cold email. So basically what I'll do is I'll go find a list of people that are on Shopify and Klaviyo. So Shopify is the e-commerce platform that most of our clients are on. Klaviyo is the email platform that we're really kind of specializing in and partners with. So I'll go find people that have those technology preferences or technology uses, and I'll send them a highly personalized email. And at the point where I'm at now, a lot more people like the stats that we have, right? I could say, oh, we work with the Chive and we work with Clover Health, right? And you can kind of name drop, which I know it's kind of annoying, but it really works having that social
Does.
proof.
Yeah.
And then also too, like as I mentioned, over the past 19 months, we've done $25 million dollars in email revenue for our clients. And at this point now, that's growing by like $4 or $5 million a month. And very few people either have done that or telling people they do that, right? That's not typically in a pitch. So we're leveraging that and telling people, hey, let's hop on a call. Happy to give you advice. At the very least, you're going to walk away with a lot more information, and it won't cost you a single thing.
And why would they come to you versus trying it themselves?
So a lot of people actually do try it themselves. They have someone
That's
in-house.
a good client, right?
Yeah,
That's a good
exactly.
prospect.
Exactly. The prospect that's done it in-house and has done their best but has fallen short is a great prospect, right? Because they know that they need help. And oftentimes too, like we have three ways that we work with a client. One is just strategy and consulting. So that's working with that in particular person and saying, hey, you've done a great job getting the foundation, but let's scale this. Like, and here's some ideas that you haven't done. Let's take this to the next level. And they're really intrigued because they personally want to develop their skills and they want to get better. And it's really like us holding their hand. So that's one way that we work with them. That's kind of like, you've done a great job. Let us help you get better. On the other end of the spectrum, it's like, let us do the work for you. You've done a decent job, but there's so much more that we could do. And unfortunately, because you're the CEO or you're the founder or you're the CMO, by you being too involved in this process, you're going to slow us down and you're going to slow yourself down. So kind of, and then in the middle, we kind of have a package where we do like strategy plus light execution. Some people on the B2C side, they understand how to do campaigns, right? Campaigns are easy. It's like Valentine's Day is coming up. I'll just send a promo, whatever. But they don't understand email automation. They don't understand welcome series, upsells, cross sells, abandoned carts, right? Customer review requests. So that part they outsource to us.
Yeah. Okay. The more complicated stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. And how else can they monetize this list? Did they put it into lookalike campaigns on Facebook or other platforms?
Yeah, so above and beyond just monetizing their own audience for their own products, there's a couple things that we do. One is a referral program. So leveraging your own subscribers to refer their friends and family. If you have a great product, word of mouth is happening already. Might as well incentivize both the referrer and the referee to get a discount, right? So it's a whole Uber model of give 5 to get 5, right? Or give a ride, get a ride type thing, right? So those are super successful. And to your point also too, leveraging those audiences for top of the funnel, whether it's retargeting your own audiences or leveraging them as lookalikes, is a really great way to drive more quality leads.
Cool. And where do you see yourself taking the company?
Yeah, so our company pretty much last year was our full calendar year of being in business. We scaled pretty quickly, scaled to about 30 clients, and it was just myself and my partner. So we just brought on 2 employees. So we're not 4 people. We're about to hire 2 more people. So our goal is to do, I want to do, when I first started, actually, I wanted to do $100 million in email revenue over 5 years. We're about 19 months in. We've done 25. I want to get that $100 million mark now by year 3. I really want to help impact people's businesses and really help better the lives of our employees and the people that even hear things like this. So I think our goal is to keep growing. I'd love to build this into like an 8-figure business over the next 5 or 7 years. This year we'll do 7 figures, and I want to keep growing the business as we have been.
And who owns this problem typically within your customer base? Is it demand gen? Do they have a particular department for this?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Email is something that's not sexy, right? People always forget about it. It's something that's just like, oh, we set it up 2 years ago and I think we're okay. It's like, that's not how it works. So typically they might have like a social media manager that might be doing email on the side, right? Like social might be 90% of their job and email might be 10% of the job. Again, they're great candidates for us to go into and say, hey, we're going to hold your hand and teach you to be doing email, because email should be at least 50% of what you're doing alongside social, right? So sometimes people have an email marketing manager that's dedicated to this, but most often it's a marketing employee that is working at a startup that just got this tossed on their plate, right? They didn't sign up for this. They don't have a skill set in this, and they just have a great attitude, and they're doing the best that they can.
And how about as far as the best way to acquire and get email addresses of real people that have the pain that the company solves versus just somebody who wants a free giveaway ebook or whatever.
Yeah, giveaways to your point are such a mixed bag, right? You really end up with a lot of people on your list that you pay a lot of money to have that
Yeah.
you know, value. They don't open. They don't do anything for you. So I'll answer that question, but right after say that, I really think this year more companies should move to the model of like cross promotion. So instead of running a giveaway where people enter this thing and it takes 2 weeks and they want all these packages and that's all they want, go find a brand that's complementary, non-competitive, and give each other's audience a discount. So for example, Brian, if you had company A, you might come to me as company B and say, hey, Chase, let's each give each other's 10% off on our products and let's drive traffic to each other and let's see how that goes. I think more companies need to go to that. And as I've been explaining it to clients, people are like, oh, that sounds cool. I'm like, let's do it. And they're like, well, I like this giveaway thing. Giveaways are so, familiar and overdone. Like no one wants to try this new thing I'm talking about, but
Yeah, I think people want the big list versus the most effective list.
yes.
Because like every 3 months, like I trim mine, like people who don't get the autoresponder, but they're on my list and I'm paying for them. Goodbye. If you can't even confirm your email address, there's no sense having you.
Exactly. We have a client that we're auditing right now. I'm not going to say their name, but they have 1 million people on their list. I ran a segment. 40% of those people have actually opened an email over the past 180 days. They're basically paying Klaviyo $7,000 a month, where they probably should be paying them $3,000 a month, right?
Yeah.
That's an extra like almost $50,000 a year that they could be reinvesting somewhere else, on an employee, on top of the funnel. So going back though to what you said, because I know I digressed a little bit, the best way really that brands can acquire their ideal customers really still is on Facebook, Instagram, Google, right? Those are really the top 3 platforms. I mean, Pinterest and Snapchat and all these other things are popping up, TikTok. But I really believe that even though those platforms are expensive, they do the best job at helping you narrow in on who your customer is. And that's why they can charge so much. So that to me really is like, again, I've done a lot of cold email for B2C acquisition. Most of that's been for like building newsletters that I had, or communities like forums, or social platforms, which was great for acquisition, but I never actually asked those people to purchase anything, right?
Right. It's different.
So it's very different. So I really believe those 3 platforms. And then as you have your audience, as I mentioned before, having things like referral programs and ambassador programs that incentivize your current customers to share with their friends is another great way.
That's it, because I've seen people like on the webinars and pretty much every type of medium, when you do partner up with adjacent vendors.
Yes.
And what always worked well for me when I was sold was partnering up with the product they buy before they buy mine.
Yes.
And you add value to them, you host the event, or you pay for it, or you generate all the content for it, but they participate in it and they invite their customers. And all of a sudden you're the next layer of technology they buy on top of it.
Exactly. And we do a similar kind of thing on our agency side, as we partner with people that run Facebook ads and Instagram ads. We partner with people that do SEO, because the e-commerce ecosystem is so large. People are really just specializing right now. I mean, there's a lot of big agencies that do a little bit of everything, but if you look at their churn, it's through the roof, right?
Yeah.
So we found through being specialists, and I had 2 agencies before this that offered everything. And I felt like, Brian, like if I had a conversation with you today and I told you I did everything, you would walk away from this conversation really hearing that I did nothing, right? Yeah. Jack of all trades, master of none. But now, Brian, after this conversation, you're going to walk away saying, oh man, this Chase guy's so good at email. Like he really knows what he's talking about. And that context shifting of people really understanding what I do and the impact that we have has been really great for landing deal flow. And kind of to your point of like, you partnered with the service that other people were buying before you or after you. We do that same thing with other complementary service providers. And it's been a really great deal flow. They either white label us or they introduce us directly. And it's been huge for business.
How about as far as using like the other data sources that can take an email address and then populate it out with location, full name, maybe phone number, address, income? Have you looked at those, either People's or Full Contact or?
Yeah, so some of like the data enrichment, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
We have done some of that stuff, more on like, just trying to understand like who our audience is.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, we used to leverage Facebook for a lot of that stuff, right? Facebook used to spit out like, oh, this is everything you need to know about your audience. And Obviously, as they've kind of strickened up and gotten more private, they have a long way to go, right? They don't give that as much. So we use a lot of that to understand our audience. I haven't truthfully used it as much for like targeting our audience and hitting them with, hey, we know you make 100K, come buy this from us, right? But we've done it to like really understand like who are our customers, who should we go after, how do we get more of those types of people? So I think there's a lot of value there.
Yeah. Cool. And do you see any technologies out there that you're excited about in this space, leveraging email and automation? And
yeah, there's two things that I'm really intrigued by this year. One for email is AMP technology. Are you familiar with AMP technology?
not by name. No.
So basically, emails this year are going to become a lot more interactive. So if you think about a web page where you can scroll between a product carousel, where you can scroll between product reviews, that technology, at least for Klaviyo, the platform that I use primarily, that's now available for there. So you basically can almost make an email as if it was a landing page, right? People can do a lot more things and learn a lot more from your email and engage with it without having to leave. So that's one thing that I'm super intrigued and excited about this year. I haven't seen anyone doing it yet. We have some developers that we're working with to try to build like some of the first models of it. So that's one. I think it's going to be huge for engagement. And the clients that are going to be the first movers of that, I think are going to have the highest engagement, right? Obviously, as everyone does it, I think it's like literally called like the law of shitty click-throughs. Or like as everyone
Is that the official name?
Yeah, or maybe that's the made-up name. Maybe that's like the law of shitty click-throughs, because we're going to roll with that.
Quote.
Yeah, is as everyone does the same thing, right? Inherently, it decreases.
Right. It diminishes in value.
Exactly. Yeah. So like with Facebook Messenger, again, kind of jumping around, like the open rates and the click-throughs initially were so high. And again, I think they are still pretty high, but I've got to imagine they've diminished, right? As people have learned and see more companies do it,
right,
it's increased. So I think the first people to leverage this AMP technology are going to be, again, the first movers and have the most benefit from it. That's one. The other one that I'm really intrigued by, haven't tested, but really want to try just figuring out how, is there are a couple of companies out there that basically can identify anonymous traffic on your website and assign them an email address. So say you get 1,000 visits to your store a day, they omit the people that you already have on your list. So maybe that's 200 people they omit. So 80% of the traffic on your site is anonymous. You don't know who they are.
Right.
And these companies claim that they can find and identify about 20 to 30% of that traffic. And actually,
yeah, they do an IP lookup and somebody has a hash table.
Yeah, so they turn it into a hashed, and then they have someone else, or they do it themselves, where they turn the hashed email into a plain text email.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of interesting. I don't know, again, with like the California law around data privacy and obviously GDPR and certain things, I've been a little bit hesitant. That's funny, coming the fact that I've sent tens of millions of cold emails. Obviously, that's probably in the white and the gray too, but that's one thing that I really want to test this year. I'm just trying to figure out like how and does this make sense, and what are the rules, what are the legalities. Is it illegal?
In B2B, we've had that for probably 15 years. You can tell certainly the IP address that's on your website, which then can translate into the company name. And then you can go on LinkedIn and go, we typically find these people, and you might be 5 to 50 people, but now you at least know that somebody there cares. And if they don't convert, you can just kind of start doing cold outreach to them. With a kind of an open-ended question of, hey, have you ever had this problem before?
So to your point then, like, I guess the B2B world was a lot more advanced and kind of ahead of the times with that. Now B2C is starting to offer it, and actually it makes the work so much easier where they're actually giving you, right? You don't have to do all this research. Because on B2B, right, like what I've learned on B2B, and again, correct me if you disagree, like B2B, like you need scale, but you don't need as much scale as B2C, right? Like on B2B,
right,
because the deal flow is higher, because average
large dollar amounts. Yeah.
Yes. Like for us, for example, like if we sign one client on the agency side, that's somewhere in the ballpark of, let's call it like $3,500 to $3,500 to $5,000 a month, right? Yeah. It's kind of our average service offering. Whereas on the product side with our clients, they might, if they're lucky, sell a price $250, $500. Right. So they'll need 8, 10, 15 people, right, for our every one. And ours are people that recur monthly. With them, they're making one-time purchases typically. We do have clients that offer subscriptions. So I think with this technology for B2C that makes it so easy, it's great, because on B2B, again, you can't go find 5,000 people that visit your site every day. You don't have time.
Right.
So
And I think that somebody will probably build a service that will take a retargeting pixel and convert it to an email address.
yeah.
This clearly they have it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, and maybe it might be a masked email address that you have to then pay to go through their server or something.
Ryan, I think I'm gonna go build this right now.
Yeah. Whoops. Hey, it's all recorded, man. Don't.
Yeah,
It's trademarked.
yeah, yeah. That's awesome.
Cool. Hey, so where can people go to learn about your company, you, and connect with you?
Yeah, so my website is boundlesslabs.io. So boundlesslabs.io. If anyone has any questions or wants to shoot me an email, either liking a point or hating on a point I mentioned, they can email me at chase@boundlesslabs.io. And then on LinkedIn, I'm Chase Diamond, no A in diamonds.
Cool. I'll send all the haters your way.
Yeah, send them my way. Happy to answer any questions and entertain anyone.